What's going on, guys? Welcome into Clutch B-Ball TV. I hope you guys are having an amazing day or night. And today I'm going to be talking about the Chicago Bulls. And I'm going to be talking about the direction when it comes to the Chicago Bulls. And I was really thinking of some NBA ideas. I know a lot of people are like, I thought this was a Knicks channel. Well, it technically isn't just a Knicks channel. This is a broad NBA slash Knicks. I talk a lot of Knicks on this channel, but I'm so passionate about basketball. So I'm sorry to anyone that subscribed just for Knicks content. I am going to be bringing guys a lot of Knicks content, like after every single game or big time news. But I just love basketball and broad NBA in general. And I thought the Chicago Bulls would be a very good topic because some people think the Bulls have this direction or they're rebuilding. And I'm not really sure when it comes to the Chicago Bulls. Of course, only the front office knows that. As you guys know, they ended up cleaning house. The front office, Garpax, Jim Boylan, one of the worst head coaches we've ever seen. The way he treated players, specifically Zach LaVine, stunning the development of Lauri Markkanen and not playing him enough, just not playing throughout his strengths. He was just an absolute disaster. He might be a good person, but he was just not a good coach for the Chicago Bulls. They brought in this brand new GM. They ended up bringing in Billy Donovan, the former head coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I don't think he ever got the credit he deserved, Billy Donovan, because if you think about it, having to coach those personalities of Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, those types of guys, and then, of course, he continued to coach them of the Oklahoma City Thunder, got Chris Paul in the offseason, had young players as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Fitzgerald as well, Steven Adams, and I actually thought he did a good job with the young guys and how he controlled the locker room and played the players throughout their strengths. So you could say Chris Paul was a big reason for that Thunder team's success, but I think he does a solid job with young players. He does need to do a better job making adjustments towards the end of games. Like we've seen some examples of running the same plays at the end of games, especially when you're playing one of your former players of Russell Westbrook. He might know that play, or he's going to know that play if it's a pin down of getting open or cutting to the basket and that type of thing. But he definitely is a young coach. I definitely did like him at Florida. He's a smart mind, but I do think he has to get better at some things. So I did think that was a solid hiring. I thought they were going to go in the Kenny Atkinson direction. He may not be the guy that wins you a championship. I know that's not what you like to hear. Like, you want that coach that can win you an NBA championship. But he's that guy that's going to develop your young guys for sure. And he's going to bring a good culture. And he's going to have that patience of what he did with the Nets of D'Angelo Russell, Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, and even more. I really liked what he did. Kenny Atkinson, you could say his rotations were not the greatest. But hiring Billy Donovan, I didn't think that was bad. Getting this brand new GM, of course, I believe from Denver. And he came in with a lot of guys like Kobe White. He did not draft. With guys like Lauri Markkanen and Zach LaVine. He wasn't a draft pick, but of course he's a part of the Chicago Bulls. Wendell Carter Jr., and of course he went on to draft Patrick Williams this offseason. And a lot of people were surprised. Some people thought they were going to draft a Denny Avdija, even an Obi Toppin. Of course, there were several teams that did go on to pass on Obi Toppin, and I get it. He's older. He's not the tallest for the power forward position. He's not specifically great at one thing on the basketball floor. He may be all right at some things as well, but he's a lot to clean up on, and he's definitely a risky prospect, at least in my opinion. I was really not high on Obi Toppin coming out of the draft, and who thinks, like, is this a true rebuild? Have they really started rebuilding if the GM, he may not think that highly of Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine may not be happy with the Chicago Bulls. He may want to be on a winning team. You have to remember, he was a part of some bad Timberwolves teams. He may not be that high on a guy like Lauri Markkanen, who had a good rookie year, but he really fell off. You could say his confidence was shot due to Jim Boylan not playing throughout his strengths. He needs to get better on defense, but he's a very smooth shot from the outside. We saw since Arizona. They may not look at Kobe White as that point guard moving forward. They may look at him as like a Lou Williams or more off the ball because he's a microwave scorer. He may be good some games, like on fire, and then the next game he's in a total slump. Not the greatest of playmaker. He's just that pure scorer of the basketball for sure. He gets buckets, but how is his playmaking? Can he be a true point guard? Wendell Carter Jr. can't stay healthy. A very smart player was getting comparisons to Al Horford. They passed on Michael Porter Jr. for Wendell Carter Jr., but also the Clippers did with back-to-back picks. The Knicks did. They weren't the only team that passed on him, so I got it for sure. There were several teams, or just like there was not scouting reports. There was GMs thinking that Michael Porter Jr. wasn't going to be able to play basketball. They thought the back injury, play basketball again. They thought the back injury was that bad. But do the Bulls have a true direction? Does this brand new GM really believe in these younger players? Wendell Carter Jr. can't stay healthy, has troubles offensively. He's a solid defensive player, but can he stay on the floor? Lauri Markkanen, Kobe White, Zach LaVine. I like the Patrick Williams pick. I wouldn't have been mad if the Knicks went on to take Patrick Williams at 8, because this is the type of draft. I think my stomach just growled. That's interesting. This was the type of draft. There was no such thing as a reach. Yes, you could say Anthony Edwards, high upside, LaMelo Ball, high upside, very talented, but are they NBA ready? Are they going to be great right away? You see Anthony Edwards, how he could score the basketball like crazy, but is he efficient? No. He's going to have nights he's 11 for 14, then he's going to have nights like the other nights like 7 for 22, not that efficient, going to have lapses on defense, has a lot to work on. This was definitely not the strongest of draft, but there's going to be a bunch of solid players if it's role players, solid starters, and then there's going to be that steal towards the end of the lottery that's going to end up being a beast if that's a Denny Avdia. We'll see what goes on to happen with that, or a very solid role of a Sadiq Bey with the Detroit Pistons who could shoot the lights out from Villanova that could play defense. But Patrick Williams, I don't think people realize, if you really do take a look at the Florida State program, they don't hand out minutes like that. They don't hand out minutes to freshmen like Jonathan Isaac. He had to earn his minutes. He only averaged 12 points per game, was taken for his upside. Devin Vassell, he barely played his freshman year. He had to earn minutes. And Patrick Williams was a guy that was verging. He was just surging, being an absolute beast. And then the season was cut short due to COVID. And he was really taken for his high upside, for his high athleticism, smooth shot from mid-range territory, a very good defensive player, such a strong work ethic. And the Bulls were like, you know what? This is not the strongest of draft, so we're going to swing for the fences here. This guy may end up being the best player out of this draft. Like I said, he's a hard worker, and he's good from mid-range territory, freak athlete, really good on defense. And you could say you can get that with Obi Toppin, but Obi Toppin's older, doesn't provide that defense. The footwork isn't there. Like, how great is his shot, really? Yes, he shot good from downtown, but only on 2.6 attempts. But I was personally a big Patrick Williams fan, because I was like, he has this underdog mentality. He has a lot of talent, and no one really knows how great he would actually be, because he never really got that true opportunity until the end of the season, and it was cut short, sadly, due to the COVID. And if there was the NCAA tournament, people would have really saw how good Patrick Williams is. And you can't really look at the stats when it comes to these Florida State players, because it's really a team-oriented offense and defense. They don't play throughout one player. They play throughout this playbook of getting everyone involved. And I'm telling you, Patrick Williams may end up being a freaking beast for the Bulls. I may look stupid, but does this GM believe in a Patrick Williams? Do they believe in a Kobe White, a Zach LaVine moving forward? So the rebuild probably didn't even start yet. If you don't believe in these young players, I don't think you're like, yes, you could say they're in the middle of the rebuild if they believe in these players. But maybe they just started the rebuild with a Patrick Williams. Maybe they don't think Kobe White is a part of that rebuild. Maybe they don't think Lauri Markkanen's a part of it. Maybe they just started it with a Patrick Williams, because the GM's like, that's my guy. None of these other guys are my guy. So maybe they just started it, so they're way behind schedule than we actually thought they were. They may not may be believers in Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine may not be happy. So don't be surprised if it takes longer than you guys thought when it comes to the Bulls rebuild, and you see Markkanen traded out of nowhere, Wendell Carter Jr., Kobe White. Kobe White, maybe not. I think he'd be a nice bench piece. I don't see him being like, seeing him be like a top starter when it comes to the point guard position, at least on a consistent basis. Like I said, he's going to have those nights he scores the basketball like crazy, and then he's going to have nights that he's off, and he doesn't provide much defensively, and especially in the playmaking department, even though he's a tough shot maker and a bulldog at the basket. But let me know down below, do you think they started their rebuild yet? Do you think they didn't? I personally think they just did, and that's what Patrick Williams. Again, I don't know the GM personally, so I don't know his like thoughts on Markkanen, Wendell Carter Jr. and all that. But maybe they just started it by drafting a guy like Patrick Williams for sure. They didn't go out there trying to make that splash move in free agency, which I love. They're saving that cap space, waiting for free agency, or just building throughout the draft, so they're in a good position and they're not stuck in just terrible cap space situation. But I want to thank you guys so much for the great amount of support. I want to give a big shout out to my first ever member on the channel. You did not have to do that. I greatly appreciate it. Like, again, you guys never have to be members. You guys watching my videos, just supporting me is already enough. It's just something extra if you want to support the channel. I'll put up the member that did end up becoming a member. Thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate it. And as always, guys, have a humble day or night. Peace out, y'all.